Hi. So I've just watched a split screen of the David Cameron referendum resignation speech. Obviously, there's some key differences between Christopher Stone's and my own interpretation. So I've made a list of them. First of all is difference. I noticed the difference in prosody, which I think comes across in basically just the way both of us look whilst we're signing. Christopher Stone he stands a lot prouder, his shoulders are further apart. You can see his legs without seeing them in the screen. So you can tell how he is standing, you can tell that he's standing correctly so that his signing space is sort of measured perfectly, and that comes across and it looks a lot clearer. I think with mine, again, although you can't see my legs, you can tell that I'm sitting down. And even without that, I think whether I was standing or not, it wouldn't really make that much of a difference. I think the difference in confidence and experience really shows through the prosody of it. So I think that's got a lot to do with it. I think the difference in speed as well. So if anything, Christopher Stone is signing a lot faster. He's matching the pace of the speech, whereas I've sort of developed a bit of a time lag, which has probably got more to do with the source text than anything else, as I had, I could watch it as many times as I wanted to. I practiced it twice before filming it. So I was more familiar with the text and knew what was coming next, whereas Christopher was obviously signing it there and then live. So I suppose you'd want to keep up with it. And I suppose linked to that, there were certain things that I felt. There were certain times I felt like I omitted certain parts of the text. There were certainly times where I felt like I needed to change certain things. For example, I think, is it a strong economy or a strong financial situation? I remember watching the text or listening to the text and thinking I can't sign strong, as in strong, because that's not the meaning of it. However, when you're signing it live, you don't have time to add anything into that. So I saw at one point Christopher did use the sign strong when talking about, I think it was a financial situation, which obviously again is to do with the source text. Also the difference in vocab. Obviously Christopher's told us before that he spent a lot of time working in political situations. He's also well known in the BBC. So I suppose he's had more time, not so much to research, because obviously I could have researched before my interpretation, but he had more experience. So something like parliamentary, it would have been so easy for me to research that. However, I didn't. That's one of the signs I certainly didn't. Investors, I can't remember what he does, but I was unfamiliar with those terms, which I think is linked to experience, but also linked to sort of the professionality of it all. Something I think Thaisa picked up on in lectures was British people. So even though during my interpretation I was supposed to be David Cameron, I'd sign British people, and it's everyone apart from me, whereas Christopher includes himself because he himself is a British person. So it's almost the difference between first person and almost third person, I suppose. I think there were a couple of similarities. It's not so much to do with the translation, more to do with certain vocabulary and certain ways of signing something, I suppose. So when David Cameron's talking about the world watching what's going to happen, both of us role shifted into the world watching. Obviously there were slightly different approaches to it, but we both became the world watching Great Britain. We also signed sort of the steps that I'm taking towards the end of the speech. Both of us used the sign process. Process. So obviously that's sort of where the similarities die. Something else I noticed was Christopher, when David Cameron's talking about having a meeting on Monday or in the next couple of weeks, again, because he's sort of keeping to a more faithful translation, I suppose, no timeline is set up. So it's sort of on Monday I'll meet. I don't think he even uses the point Monday. It's just Monday meet. Whereas I mean, it's a really strange timeline, but I sort of, in the future, Monday, will meeting. And also the sign for Prime Minister. I signed President throughout my entire clip, which obviously isn't right, President, because it is a completely different context. However, Christopher signed PM. So I guess that's just a difference in preference, I suppose. Obviously, you wouldn't sign President when you're talking about Prime Minister. So that's it really. I think there were some similarities. Watching them both together, that I think the thing that really stuck out for me was the difference in time lag and the difference in pacing. But yeah.